My name is Daniel Mercer. And if you think betrayal comes from enemies, you've never had your own family try to replace you in the company you built from nothing. Before I tell you what they did to me, understand this. I didn't inherit my company. I survived it into existence. I started with nothing. No investors, no connections. Just a second-hand laptop and an idea people told me would never scale. For years, my life didn't feel like building a business. It felt like losing sleep in exchange for progress. One client at a time, one broken system at a time, one almost collapse after another. Until finally, it worked. We became stable, then profitable, then respected. That last one is dangerous because respect is where people start believing they have a say in what you built. I didn't notice the shift at first, not until my parents started asking about my company more often. Not until my younger sister Sarah started just happening to be present in every conversation about my work. She had just graduated from a top business school, and suddenly, she wasn't just my sister anymore. She was the future of the company. I remember laughing when I first heard it. I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. The first time they said it out loud was during dinner, a normal family dinner. At least, that's what I thought it was. My mother made food nobody ate. My father kept repeating the word legacy. And Sarah just sat there, smiling, not nervous, not surprised, prepared. That should have told me everything. But I missed it. Then my father finally said it. We think Sarah should take a leadership role in the company. I remember blinking, waiting for someone to laugh. No one did. That silence was the first warning. I looked at Sarah. She didn't defend me. She didn't support me. She just looked calm, like the decision had already been processed. Before I even walked into the room, I said the only logical thing. I built the company. My mother responded immediately. You're too close to it emotionally. That sentence hit harder than anything else because it reframed my life's work as instability and reframed her as the solution. That was the moment I realized something dangerous. They weren't asking me to share control. They were replacing me. But here's what makes this worse. I actually let her in. At first, because she was family, because I believed intelligence would translate into respect. It didn't. Within weeks, she wasn't helping. She was deciding, not openly, quietly. That's the part nobody notices until it's too late. She never said, I'm taking control. She just started acting like she already had it, and people followed her because she made it easier. And here's the trap. People don't follow authority. They follow convenience. Meetings started changing. Team leads stopped coming to me first. Internal systems got updated without my approval. Every change sounded logical. Every change sounded helpful. Every change made me slightly less necessary. Until one day, I noticed I wasn't being consulted anymore. I was being informed. And then came the dinner, the one that changed everything. My parents invited me like it was normal, but Sarah was already there. That should have been my first clue. My father didn't even hesitate. We think it's time Sarah leads the company. No build-up, no discussion, just execution of a decision I wasn't part of. I looked at all three of them. My father looked like this was business. My mother looked relieved. And Sarah looked like she had already won. That's when something inside me stopped arguing, not emotionally, strategically. Because arguing only matters when both sides believe they're in the same game. They didn't. So I stopped resisting and started observing. And that is where most people make their second mistake. They think silence means defeat. Sometimes silence is just data collection. Over the next weeks, I stopped reacting and started mapping. Who actually keeps the system alive? Not the titles, not the roles, the dependencies, the invisible structure holding everything together. And I found it. Key clients, core engineers, critical contracts. The real backbone of the company, not the leadership, the infrastructure, and slowly, I started talking to them, not about betrayal, not about conflict, just truth. What do you actually need to stay here? What would make you leave? What makes this system worth staying in? And that's when something shifted. They didn't say Sarah was better. They said I was the reason things worked. That was the moment everything changed. Not legally, not publicly, but structurally. Because here's the truth about companies. You don't own them, you host them. And once the host leaves, the system collapses or follows. Then came the announcement week. Sarah was already acting like CEO. Internal emails already reflected transition language. My parents already treated me like I was stepping down voluntarily. They didn't know I had already left the system. I just hadn't announced it yet. So I called a meeting. Everyone important was there except them. That was intentional. I walked in and said, "I'm starting a new company." Pause. Then the second line. "And I'm taking the core team and key clients with me." That's when the room broke. Not loudly, quietly. The way systems break when they realize the structure is gone. Sarah stood up immediately. "You can't do that." But I already had, because I wasn't taking anything from them. I was removing what was always aligned with me. Within hours, I resigned. Within days, clients moved. Within weeks, engineers followed. Not because I asked, because they already decided where stability actually was. My parents called. A lot. Sarah called even more. But I didn't answer, because at that point, there was nothing to explain anymore. Only consequences unfolding. And here's what hurt them the most. Nothing collapsed dramatically. It just stopped working. Slowly, naturally, indisputably, because systems don't die from attack. They die from withdrawal. My new company launched quietly. No announcement, no drama, just execution. And it scaled faster than the original ever did, because it was no longer held together by politics, only function. Months later, I saw Sarah again. We didn't speak. We didn't need to, because now she understood something she didn't before. You can be chosen by a system, but still not be the reason it works. And me, I learned something I should have understood earlier. Family is not a business structure, and loyalty is not a replacement for competence. So now I'll ask you the same question I had to answer. If your own family decided you were replaceable in something you built, would you fight to stay inside it? Or would you build something so essential they can't follow you out?